Chris Phillips, by
Yeah.
accident. But I left
Well, it's
it-
the same book.
Same
That's right. You keep that close. You gave me yours.
Okay, it's my privilege to call to order March 16th, 2023 meeting of Bridgewater's Township Council. Times the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided on January 10th, 2023, with written notice and electronic notice provided to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building, and filing with the township clerk. A roll call, please.
Councilman Cardillo? Councilman Regala?
Here.
Councilman Pedrosa? Councilman Ring? Good evening, here. Council President Kirk?
Yes, I'm here. If everyone would please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Norgales.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we go to minutes, I want to just make the audience, as well as anyone who's online, aware of a couple of minor changes we're going to make to the agenda in case that influences your plans. 10B, the ordinance awarding a lease to construct the monument display will not occur tonight. That we will be taking action to defer until April 20th. So if you are here and wish to address the council on that topic, you have two choices. Either you can address us during number 9, when the meeting is open to the public for general conversation, or come back and address during the final action hearing on April 20th. Other item that will be adjusted is 12, letter H. At the request of the applicant, that will be heard, or that will be considered on March 30th. So if you're here for either of those items, I wanted to make sure that everyone's aware. And also wanted to acknowledge Councilman Cardilla is absent because he is involved with important business associated with the fire service, representing Bridgewater in an out-of-county meeting. So with that taken care of, we'll move to number 4, minutes for approval. I know minutes were distributed. I presume you received some comments. Any other comments or edits on minutes for March 2nd?
I'll move the March 2nd minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are adopted. We'll also acknowledge that Councilman Pedrosa has joined us. And we'll go to Township Council reports. Council Vice President Ring.
All right, thank you. The planning board met earlier this week regarding the M&M manufacturing facility application on 202-206. There was still a number of concerns outstanding related to a report from a traffic expert that the town hired. And based upon that, the applicant has asked to carry that, which will be carried into April. We did have some brief hearings from our brief testimony from the planner regarding some design waivers, but the bulk of that will be heard in April. The most recent zoning board meeting was spent discussing the warehouse application on 202-206. Their next meeting will be held on the 21st here. Last night, the township had an event in the community hub at the mall to thank those folks that participate in the various boards and committees throughout the township. It was a well-done event, so thank you to the administration for that. I was happy to participate in that. And then earlier today, I had the unfortunate pleasure of having to attend the viewing of one of a longtime retired township employee who also volunteered for over 50 years with the Martinsville Fire Department, as well as spent time with the Martinsville Rescue Squad. And that was Jeff Kerner, who passed away very unexpectedly the end of last week. His viewing was held today. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Norgales.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you just heard, it's with great sadness that I report the passing of Jeff Turner, a retired 40-year employee in our DPW organization, as well as an ex-chief of the Martinsville Fire Department. He was a Martinsville member for some 54 years. The clerk's office has received new instructions from the Somerset County Board of Elections, which mandates changes to the voting procedures in our town. It's just more work for Linda Doyle and her staff. This week is Groundwater Awareness Week, to call attention that whether you have well water or city water, your supply is mostly coming out of the ground, and quality checking is vital to public health, no matter what your source. Between this week and next, the major religions celebrate numerous special times. Purim is a Jewish holiday which commemorates the saving of the Jewish people from annihilation at the hands of Haman. As it is recounted in the biblical book of Esther, Haman was the royal vizier of the Persian king. Holi is a popular and significant Hindu festival celebrated as the festival of colors, love, and spring. It celebrates the eternal and divine love of the god Radha and Krishna. The day also signifies the triumph of good over evil. Ramadan, the Muslim holiday, starts next Wednesday and is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, observed by Muslims worldwide as a month of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community service. I can't forget that tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick was the 5th century Romano-British Christian missionary and bishop in Ireland, known as the Apostle of Ireland. He is the primary patron saint of Ireland. Attended the Bridgewater Volunteer Recognition celebration at the mall, sponsored by Mayor Mensch last night. We are a blessed town to have so many caring folks volunteer to help keep this township alive and raise families in. Next week, I will attend the hobby show sponsored by our Senior Citizen Center. This is the second year for this program, which has been sponsored by center staff members Jennifer Osterberg and Junie Costantino. The senior citizens who participate in this simply love these two ladies for the vigor and enthusiasm they bring to the building. Thank you. Oh, there's one other thing, I'm sorry. Chief Mitzak received a letter. It says, it's from an out-of-towner, and he said, I want to thank you and bring to your attention two outstanding officers. Officers Duffy and Officer Herzl showed respect, compassion, and kindness on November 17, 2022, at the time of my Aunt Betty Collis's minor fender bender a mile from her house in Bridgewater. The two officers went above and beyond the call of duty in assisting her. Well done, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councilman Pedroso.
Thank you, sir. I attended the weekend state Republican summit event. It was Friday and Saturday. They had a lot of different seminars and events, so it was certainly nice to connect with other politicians across the state. This week we attended the Somerset County Regional Center Partnership meeting. It was somewhat of a quick meeting. Can't say there was anything of note worth reporting back. And yesterday I had the honor of attending Mayor Mensch's volunteer recognition event. I just want to I guess echo the sentiments already shared. I'm certainly very grateful for the many, many volunteers we have in Bridgewater Township. We, as Councilman Argala says, we are very fortunate to have high caliber, quality people who care deeply about our township and who volunteer so much of their time. And happy St. Patrick's to all, and good evening, everyone.
Okay, thank you. So, of course, the danger in going last is I'm going to be covering some ground we've already heard about, but I was also at the volunteer appreciation event yesterday, and my take is that it was an outstanding event. We say thank you as often as possible. We will continue to say thank you as often as possible, but having an event such as yesterday was, I think, a tangible way of showing our appreciation, giving people an opportunity to mix and mingle and enjoy part of an evening together. Want to acknowledge also that the referendum vote occurred 2 days ago on March 14th. And it was, there were some different procedures, there were some different machines. As a result, closing down the machines, there was a different procedure. Unfortunately, there was an overwhelming number of voters at least a few locations at 8 o'clock, which resulted in the voting extending well past 8 o'clock. And then the downstream consequences, our staff was here until a considerable point into the evening. But I do want to acknowledge our clerk, Linda Doyle, and her staff. No matter what curveball you throw at them, they handle it. Let's hope they don't get too many more curves. The next election is the partisan primaries. The good news is we'll be returning back to our 11 or 12 locations with our 36 machines rather than the special circumstance that we had earlier in the week. And then just want to also acknowledge for everyone on the dais and in the audience that our next meeting is going to be March 30th. And then we will have the 3-week gap. So, we were either going to have the 3-week gap and then 2, or 2 and then 3 because of the upcoming Good Friday and other holidays nearby. We are basically promoting what would have been the first April meeting a week earlier to March 30th. So, in the end, we're having all the meetings we were supposed to. We just shifted the order. Want to make sure everyone can be well prepared for that. And those are my remarks. So I guess on behalf of the mayor, do we have any comments, Mr. Pappas?
Just one, thank you. This morning, Chief Mitzak and Captains Tennant and Sever began what they hope to be a regular occurrence, coffee with the command staff. They went to a deli, a rock deli on Union Avenue this morning. Were very, very well received and had numerous people that they were able to interact with. This is something that, based upon today, they will be doing on a regular basis in an effort just to reach out to the community. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 brief presentations. These are associated with Resolution 12C, which we will be considering tonight. So I'd like to first call Stephen Nagel from Home Sharing, Inc., to provide us a few-minute overview of the organization and the grant that we'll be voting on a little later this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Council people, it's an honor and pleasure to be with you this evening. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Council Vice President Tim for distributing this information that I'm going to be referring to the people on the dais before the meeting this evening. My name is Steve Nagel. I'm the Executive Director of Home Sharing. Home Sharing is an organization that's been headquartered in Bridgewater in the People Care Center for more than 38 years. And one of the problems I found, I've been the executive director since July, is that many people don't know we exist, let alone that we're actually headquartered in Bridgewater. We're a statewide organization who works to provide affordable housing through 2 different paths to clients. We have a group of clients we call providers and a group of clients we call seekers. Providers are people that own homes or apartments or rent apartments and have a room in their house or apartment that they would like to let someone from the outside the community, from outside, in the community come into and use. Our seekers are people that are looking for affordable housing. And what we do is we pair these 2 groups of clients together to do something called a home share. It's not a landlord-tenant, it's not a homeowner-boarder situation. It's 2 people that have voluntarily agreed to live together to share the expenses of the home. Before either of the parties get together, they are rigorously vetted. We do reference checks. They have to be professional reference checks. We do professional background checks. We interview all our clients, and we do compatibility tests. Once we see the people may be compatible, we bring them together. And at that point, that's the first time they've met. And after they meet, if they say, yes, I believe this is an arrangement that would work for both of us, we then put together something called the home sharing agreement. The home sharing agreement is the rules that the provider and the seeker will live by together. And that may or may not include a financial arrangement in sharing the expenses of the home. Once that's completed, they begin something called a match. Once the 2 people are matched and the seeker moves in the provider's home, we provide follow-up services at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 1 year, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years to make sure that the match is continuing to work well. The interesting thing about this is that we receive no funding from our clients. All the funding for our services come either through grants or through fundraising activities that we perform. In fact, I would be flogged if I didn't shamelessly plug our fundraiser coming up on April 21st, Designer Handbag Bingo, an opportunity for your husbands and wives, to get out and come out for a night post-COVID. We'll have about $3,000 worth of designer handbags that we'll be having in bingo contest that night. My purpose for being here is we were seeking community development block grant funding. And part of the requirement of that is municipal certification. And in working with the administration, it was requested I come here and introduce our program to you, which I am happy to do. I am happy to answer any questions from the elected officials or with the permission of the council president, anybody in the audience that may have any questions about our program. Thank you again for the opportunity to visit with you, and I'm happy to be at your service.
Well, let me go through the dais, see if there are any questions.
What facilities or functions would you be using a grant when you get it, if you get it?
We're looking to expand client service. We currently, I'm going to give you what I call the DUS statement of the day. There are 21 counties in New Jersey. We serve clients in 11 counties right now. We're continuing to work to push statewide. But one of our efforts is to begin working with veterans and precariously housed veterans' families to help veterans attain and maintain affordable housing.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
The fact that the People Care Center has been open for 38 years, and I remember when it was still a school, no.
Okay, any other questions? I'll simply close this portion of the agenda related to you by saying thank you for what you do. Certainly a point of pride for Bridgewater that this great work occurs, or at least is based here. It occurs throughout the state, but certainly its base is here in Bridgewater. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for what your organization does. And if you want to stick around for the formal action, it shouldn't be too far away.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe evening.
Thank you. And now I'd like to call for a similar presentation or conversation, Tina DeVico Price from Youth Consultation Service.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm a little short.
Just if you pull it down a little bit more, we'll be able to hear well.
So Youth Consultation Services opened in 1918, where we opened our heart and doors to care for orphan children and women who suffered from extreme emotional and financial distress in the aftermath of the First World War and Spanish flu. YCS has never strayed from its mission, and now 105 years later, we're a statewide nonprofit behavioral health and social service agency that provides comprehensive therapeutic support to thousands of individuals, birth through adulthood, with complex special needs. The mission for YCS is to partner with at-risk and special needs children, youth, and young adults to build happier, healthier, and more hopeful lives within the families and communities. As part of the residential service, clients are provided with necessary transportation, education, day program activities or coordination, recreational, behavioral support, medical, and dental care coordination, and other services as needed. These programs provide housing and staffing 24 hours a day and 7 days per week. So we own 2 residential treatment homes licensed by the NJ Division of Developmental Disabilities in Bridgewater. We're looking to use the CDBG monies for one of these. It's an older home. There's 4 adult men living in the home. Right now it's decorated in what I would consider to be a bachelor pad, but they like it, so that's how we leave it. We each has their own room. There's 2 bathrooms, and we're looking to use the money, it's an older home, as I said, so we're looking to use the money for new heating system, furnace, new roofing, gutters, leaders, and siding, new kitchen cabinets, flooring, countertops, and appliances, and we currently have an ADA bathroom, but the way the shower was built, it's leaking into the hallway, so we would like to use the money to remodel that and get new floors.
The paperwork we have shows 2 different facilities.
We've changed that. I don't think we'll have enough money.
Okay, so we're The
We're
Pearl
just looking at 694
or
Burning.
Burning Bush. So the paperwork for Pearl Street, we should ignore.
Yes, please.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you
Oh,
for
that
what
was
you
very
do.
descriptive. Thank you very much.
So I'll simply close this portion by saying thank you for what you do, thank you for the impact you have. We're certainly proud to be a very small part of this effort by, when we take action, presumably supporting the grants that will enable both organizations to be successful in these projects. So if you want to stick around, you're welcome to. Can't tell you exactly how long. It shouldn't be too long. There aren't too many items we need to cover. But again, thank you for what you and your organization do to benefit our community.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Okay, we'll move to number 9, the meeting being open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there are unusual circumstances. I'll take a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're open to the public, subject to a request that when you come to the podium, you provide your name, your address, as clearly as possible, so we can make sure that we have it on the record, and then address the council.
My name is Mary Gallagher. I live at 102 Highland Avenue. And I was at the planning board meeting the other night. And I really wasn't happy, and neither were a couple of other people that were with me. I'm not going to go into all the details with it, but one of the big things that we've been discussing, and I've been discussing it along my street today, is that there has been no notification for the residents of the Greenall area about the facility on Route 202-206. The M&M LLC is building this manufacturing, quote-unquote, warehouse, all right, with 44 bays and a whole lot of truck traffic, right? And nobody on my street knew about it. I found out about it in January. So what I'm here for today is to see if we can change or expand that 200-foot limit of notification. What can we do about it? I don't know if we can even do anything about this facility that's going to be a nightmare for this community. The things came up about traffic. It's tabled for next month, but I brought off some ideas about water that I'm very concerned about, but I don't see any resolution. But what I would like to see is better notification, and that was discussed among all of the residents in the area.
Yeah.
We're not notified.
I can address that because it's something that I've noticed. Prior to my service on council, I was on zoning board 8 years. I was first 2 years on planning board, so I'm certainly familiar with how these procedures work. And one thing that I'm working on with the administration is a mechanism for residents to voluntarily identify themselves as being interested in being notified for land use matters. We considered putting it in our regular newsletter. The feeling was that might reach an audience that just isn't really targeted for that purpose. So we are working through a mechanism where individuals can sign up to receive emails when there are going to be, with future agenda items. In addition, we are working through a mechanism that upcoming agenda items can be summarized in some sort of a table. So rather than have to go through agenda after agenda after agenda, there'll be some kind of a table so that you can see what is coming, so to speak. The other thing that I've done is, working with our state senator, Doug Steinert, I have asked him this 200-foot question. And specifically what I've asked him is, does that or could that be revisited? And could or should that be different based on the type of application, potentially? Because right now, if it's a person that wants to extend their porch, and it affects a handful of neighbors, it's treated the same way as a major commercial development. I don't know where that's going to go. Senator Steinert and his staff are doing legislative research on that. So thank you for bringing that to us. It is certainly something that I'm aware of and I have passion to improve. And again, I'm hoping that within Bridgewater, we can solve it through better communication on our website and or through email, and potentially with advocacy to the state senator, potentially change beyond Bridgewater can also.
Yeah, because this is going to be important, because if this thing goes through, we could very easily have another application for another manufacturing site. This will be a nightmare for 202, 206. This is infuriating. I'm sorry, but I'm upset about the whole thing. I didn't learn about it until January, the week before the meeting.
And I think, to echo Council President Kirsch's comments, I think you'll find there's multiple of us up here have frustration over the 200-foot requirement. It's a state municipal land use law requirement. So trying to see what we can do around that. Also understand, the township, and as a planning board member, I have maintained an open mind about all these applications, but, the township has retained a special planner as well as a traffic consultant, given the size of this application, to make sure that we are doing everything we can to protect our community's interests with this, so.
Well, it's just a nightmare on the highway right now, and with this facility coming in,
Yeah.
I'm afraid we're going to get it, because
Oh.
I'm only one block in. The truck traffic is terrible.
Yeah. And, as you saw the other night, there was a lot of concerns. Our traffic consultant, a gentleman who was hired specifically to look at the traffic for this project, has raised a number of issues that have not been addressed and was summarized in a memo, and based upon that, they said, okay, you know what, we need to go back and relook at this. So we have to wait till they come back with those updated plans and give them the benefit of the doubt to present
Will that
them.
include the water plan and the drainage? Because I got very confused about that. They weren't clear, and the waiver was for
So,
stormwater, but what about wetlands?
I want to be
No, I don't wanna
respectful of the
get
2-minute requirement. I will be very happy to talk to you offline further about that. Not a problem. So,
All right, thank you.
I think the resolution is on the particular concern. I think Councilman Ring can be your go-to person, and on your concern about overall notice and transparency and visibility, we're taking steps to improve that in the ways that we can control it and potentially advocate
So
for
I can
something like it.
tell my neighbors that you guys are working on this now, that we are,
You can-
you're aware of the issue.
We are well aware of it. Thank you.
Mr. Corsini?
Yes, sir.
Dwelling requirement is regulated in part by state law. Can we expand on it?
We have looked at this issue at several junctures, both in my time as township attorney and in prior years as deputy township attorney. We would love to expand upon it. We can't. We cannot go any further,
That's a
right?
question
Right?
we've asked
We've
a
looked at
number
it
of
at
times.
least twice, Councilman
Yes.
Nogales remembers, since both, during my time
Yes.
here and when I served my apprenticeship under Bill Savo. And I wish, Councilman Pedrosa, we could do it, but we cannot.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address us, if you could come to the podium, provide name and address.
Yeah, good evening. My name is John Merton. I reside at 184 Adamsville Road, Bridgewater. At an earlier meeting, I spoke in support of the floodplain ordinance that's coming forward for review and discussion. As a consequence of that, it came to my light that there are probably other aspects of stormwater management that need to perhaps also be addressed as a corollary. I started a review of the township ordinances on stormwater management and stormwater runoff, and what I was finding is that even though they provide a lot of detail relevant to the information that what needs to be done, what kind of basins need to be provided, what kind of storm management structure should reside, it provides mathematical calculations to use for runoff and assessments. But it does not, it has an ambiguity to it and vagueness on what data should be used that addresses the amount of rain that fall. And on discussion with several individuals within the township and other municipalities, there was a suggestion, it was suggested to me that there might have been a vagueness intended to be in the ordinances, that so that when new best available data comes forward, it could be implemented under the guise of council people, that without having to amend the ordinance. I think this is, people I spoke with, there's indication that they may be looking into this. But from what I interpreted, the ordinance on stormwater management was crafted and I think approved in 2007. And at that time, the information that was being utilized was from the NOAA Atlas 14 reports of 2007. And since that time, that data is continuing to be used, where it presents, for example, 8 inches of rainfall in 24 hours for a 100-year storm. In November of 2021, New Jersey DEP indicated in a report that that data is woefully out of date, and they were providing additional data studies to update amounts of water that were falling and that should be used. As a follow-up report in May of 2022, they provided more specific detail acknowledging that the data indicates that there's a 17% increase across Somerset County on the amount of rain that falls. And in that report, it does cite specific numbers on the amount of rain that does fall and should be perhaps utilized. I'm respectively requesting that the ordinances on rainfall, stormwater runoff management perhaps be reviewed to ensure that the best practices and best data available are being utilized. In several of the applications that I've looked at for, like M&M one that was just addressed, as well as the ones more closely in my neighborhood, the Signature Centerpoint development, still makes reference and use of the 2007 data. That, to me, seems to be woefully deficient, and I would like to see that there is a review by individuals in the township to perhaps apply true best practices for the protection and welfare of the public. And I additionally would like to respectfully request that there perhaps be a communication from this group to the other councils that a review of the ordinances should be done, would be done, and that any approvals on stormwater reports specifically for those applications be paused until a review or confirmation of values be acknowledged.
All right, let me bring Mr. Pappas and potentially Mr. Corsini into this conversation because
Sure.
you know there are certain limitations I think on the action that we can take here. I guess if Mr. Pappas you can provide comments.
Yeah, just yesterday I met with our township engineer, Bill Burr, to talk about this topic. The state is requiring municipalities to update stormwater management plans, and he and I went through this rather extensively. So he will be putting forth some approaches. We're going to be meeting again within the next week to come up with his proposed timeline and approach. It's a pretty substantial undertaking that not just Bridgewater, but most municipalities in New Jersey are facing, and it will be something that obviously this council will need to act on.
If I may, Mr. President, one of the major takeaways, if we do not approve this, which is a state-sponsored ordinance, our residents would not be able to buy flood insurance.
I'm not the flood insurance plan, I'm totally supportive of it, but
I understand.
the stormwater management is really outside. The floodplain ordinance is
Two separate
separate issues. So for me, I saw there was a potential gap in not addressing stormwater management on properties not or outside the floodplain.
Probably your best vehicle is to go to the state and talk to them about it from a global standpoint.
So with that, I have contacted and spoke with several different groups, and I don't want to drop names, but I have spoken with several people within the township, as well as in all the municipalities on actions that they're proposing to take. And there seems to be a purview within the municipalities to enact upon what they feel are best practices and best data available. So again, I feel that this is perhaps the best body to bring this forward.
Well, it's the best body for you to bring it to because you're a Bridgewater resident. So I think if it's fair, Mr. Pappas, we have his contact information, right? Thank you for the particular interest here, and I think that to the extent that we can be a leader in this, Mr. Pappas will certainly try to do that.
It is not going to be a quick undertaking, and so it's quite involved, and I'm not sure when we'll be reporting back to the council, but we will.
So if I may continue, at your discretion, when I read through the ordinances, there is a caveat to that in matters that are particularly important to public safety and welfare, decisions made relative to this could be retrospectively applied. So for applications that are not yet approved, the decisions made on this regard could be imposed upon applications that are currently under review.
Again, I don't have the technical knowledge there. You know, it's certainly, you know, I think Mr. Pappas is the one, or his designees are the ones that are going to lead this effort. So, you know, that perspective is certainly known.
We can engage with Mr. Merton, Administrator Pappas, a little more on this issue if you'd like.
Appreciate any dialogue. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council tonight? Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Wendy Pinchinson. I live at 408 Brokaw Court in Bridgewater. I just wanted to speak about item number 10B, the ordinance awarding a lease to construct a monument display. I just wanted to...
I'm sorry, just before you do that, you can speak on that.
Yep.
We will not be taking action on that tonight.
Sure.
Still speak on
Sure.
it. But just want to make sure that for you or anyone else in the audience that is particularly concerned about that issue, we will be taking action instead on April 20th.
Sure. I
You're still
came
welcome
tonight
to
because it was
speak.
on the agenda, so I thought I'd come tonight and while I was here, just take some time and just express my concern about this monument display being erected, which quite frankly is an electronic billboard, similar to what I understand is in Raritan Township on the highway. I don't know if anyone has ever been past it. It's quite an eyesore. It is very bright at night, very distracting. I'm concerned about it being erected where it's proposed in the township. As I was sitting in the audience, I'm looking up at the seal, and one of the items on there says scenic. The monument display, aka electronic billboard, does not scream scenic to me, and I really would also like to know what the money that the township is going to be receiving, what that is going to be going towards. I don't understand what that is going towards. So just a couple of things popped to mind about it, and I just was concerned and wanted to come and speak on that.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address council tonight?
Good evening, Kathy Franco, 766 Weemac Road. I'm here to speak on 10B, and I know you're not voting on it tonight, but I'll probably be back on April 11th again. Excuse me?
April 20th.
Oh, 20th, sorry, had the wrong date. This property apparently was rezoned in October of 2022. I didn't realize what the plan was at that point, and therefore probably just let that pass, as did most people when we looked at that being rezoned by this council. However, it has not yet been updated on the township website zoning map to reflect that a portion of that piece of property is now zoned as commercial. So I did want to bring that to your attention. Even with the zoning changes, I believe our ordinances under the code limit the size of signage and freestanding signs. So I do not see this as being permitted even in a commercial zone. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. I do question, why are we renting space for something that would need to still go through zoning and planning? And I question if planning or zoning, whichever it has to go through, votes against these billboards, what happens to this rental agreement? Finally, the $1 million upfront fee that is talked about, how will this be spent? Will it be spent in capital, or will it be spent to offset operational costs? If it's operational, it's a one and done. It has no benefit to this township. The taxpayers really don't see it other than 1 year, perhaps, tax savings. and there's no real benefit to us in the community? Or will it be used to improve parks, offset bonds for road improvements, which we bond $8 million a year? Or, so I'll be interested to see where this takes place when that budget is, I think, supposed to be available to the public somewhere in mid-April. So I'm hoping to see where this projected $1 million is going to show up. The general consensus I've heard throughout Bridgewater is discontent with this idea. And finally, my question is, what is the relationship between the people, the LLC that is renting this property, the owners of the billboard company, and Doug Steinhardt, who is also renting property from this township for an office space? It's my understanding that Doug Steinhardt's daughter went to work for this company in August of 2022. Suddenly, we have an influx of these electronic monuments, otherwise known as billboards. I know it's a lovely term, or monument displays, but let's face it, it's an electronic billboard that's going to light up the area around it. And finally, why are we thinking about erecting a sign on an intersection that has one of the highest volumes of traffic and probably one of the highest incidents of motor vehicle accidents? It's just going to be another distraction. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address council tonight?
John Arcolio, 1110 Washington Valley Road. I'll continue on where Kathy left off. It abuts Kidd Street and is almost going to be trees removed in order to put this humongous sign up. It'll be just backing into Kidd Street. It's just unconscionable to think of that's where it's going to go. And all for this, $1.36 million over 30 years. If you do the math, that's $14 a day. You can't even buy a pizza for that price. Divided by the 14,000 families in this town, it would add to their tax bill 1/10 of 1 cent per day. Are you that hard up for the cash because of the mismanagement of this existing administration? That's it.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address council? I'll take a motion to close.
Move to close public input.
Second.
And all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We're going to move to 10A. This is public hearing and final action. An ordinance of the Township of Bridgewater authorizing the acquisition of land identified as Lot 5, Block 712, consisting of approximately 5.01 acres, known as 525 Steel Gap Road, from Mary Jean Stempian and Catherine Ann Harkenet as tenants in common. They are the sellers, for the purchase price of $565,000 from the Township's Open Space Trust Fund. I'll take a motion to open to the public for this hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are open again to the public for the purpose of discussing 10A. Does anybody wish to address council? Please come forward. Name and address, and then any comments you want to make.
Thank you, Council President. I'm Jim Wadley, 23 Forest Avenue. I'm also the chairman of the Open Space Committee, and I was here 2 weeks ago when you introduced the ordinance to purchase property. Back last, I believe in May of last year, I called a meeting, we looked at the property, everybody was on board to purchase it. I'm just here tonight to just reaffirm that. I think it'd be a terrific acquisition for the town. It'll back right in up to the Wemple property, which I worked on several years ago, which was a big project. And this will lead in right into that and make it a nice addition to the township. And I was very friendly with David, and I'm sure to be very proud that it would become part of the Wemple property.
Thank you, and thank you for your work. Even though he's not on the dais tonight, I'll thank Alan Cardilla, and all other members of the open space.
Yes, Alan was very, worked hard on this. Bill Savo worked extremely hard, and I also want to put a special thanks out to Scarlett Doyle, our township planner, who helped me put together the original plans to have the meeting last spring.
And can you name, without making this a quiz, other members of the Open Space Committee, for the record?
We had Mauricio Vesio, Ray Vela, myself. I don't have the exact attendance of who was there at the time, though.
Okay, all right. Well, clearly this was a collaborative effort, and thank you.
Yes, and I
thank
feel
you for
very
your
strong, and I've been on the committee for probably about 10 years now, and I've been chair for about 7 or 8. And it really is nice. If anybody hasn't been there, it's a beautiful piece of property. It will certainly maintain what Bridgewater really wants to do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does anyone else wish to address this council on topic?
I'd like to ask,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Jim, I know, has a wealth of background on this. I'd like him to clarify 2 things. One of the questions I had asked at the last time was the cost of demolition of the building, the closing of the septic system and the well, and I received a letter from Tom Genova, who had looked into this matter and said the amount was $35,000 to do all 3 things. Is that number consistent with what you understand?
Yes, I talked to several people, I'll say 2 people, not several, 2, and they became between 30 and 40, so the average would be 35,000.
The next item has to do, within the text of this document, it refers to Green Acres. Let me read the quick section. Township hereby certifies and confirms the property acquired by the township pursuant to, et cetera, is subject to Green Acres restriction as provided under NJSA, et cetera. Now, I originally was opposed to this wording because we're buying it with open space money, which is not a Green Acres issue. But I understand that there is some sort of an agreement with DNR Greenway where they may contribute Green Acres money in the future. Can you share some light on that?
Yes, back on I met with Linda from the group back several times when we did the Wemple property. We had a meeting of several people, and actually David was at it, Bob Boucher, all those who wanted to purchase. They contributed a sizable amount, so did other groups, and Bridgewater contributed the major portion of it to maintain that property. So where it stands now is they will make some sort of contribution, but not till after we are done, the township takes action on the property itself. That's what my understanding is.
Okay, thank you.
And they are a very good group to work with. They are very friendly.
They've been very generous to our township.
They've been very generous and very cooperative in these 4 or 5 or 6 years I've dealt with Linda and her group.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, any other questions on this from the dais? Thank you for your leadership on this. Does anyone else wish to address council on this topic? We know who you are, but name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Mary Jean Stempian, and I live at 525 Steel Gap Road in Bridgewater. And I just want to say that if this ordinance passes, it will take us one step closer to bringing this 5-acre parcel of land full circle and bringing it back together with the 35 acres that you've already preserved from the Wemple estate, because originally it was all part of the Wemple estate. And the 5 acres were first carved out in 1946 when they were sold to John and Fanny Stein by Dorothy Wemple. And John and Fanny Stein built the home that's on the land now, and my family bought it from the Steins in 1968. And both families have been very good stewards of the land. And in fact, my family and the Vauchers, Bob Vaucher in particular, and my father were very close. And my dad and my brother worked on the preservation of the 35 acres that occurred several years ago, and they worked on that. So I think this will be a real win-win if it goes through, because it brings this land back together, and it is beautiful. And that it is a beautiful piece of land. Plus, it gives you good access to the spring, which is on the Wemple property, and the carriage path, which is affiliated with Steele's Tavern, and the Rochambeau Trail runs right through the backyard of the property. So that's part of it too. So thank you for your consideration and for your attention. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to address council on this topic?
Seeing no further comments, I move to close and move for final action 10A.
Is there a second to
I
that
second the motion.
Okay, before we go to our roll call vote, is there any commentary? I know we provided some comments when we introduced this. Does anyone on the dais wish to comment?
Well, I did provide some comments at the introduction portion of the ordinance. And as I stated then, I'll just briefly summarize. I do support this. I believe the property being adjacent to a large open space property that the town already owns makes this particularly suited for it. I do recognize the Open Space Committee for the hard work they did. I've been on this council now for many years, and the Open Space Committee has always made to us very solid recommendations after extensive amount of research and work, and I do trust their judgment. On top of that, my own independent opinion is that knowing the site, knowing the property, knowing the adjacent large open space that the town acquired, having walked that open space property, this is a great acquisition. I think the value is reasonable, and so I support this.
Thank you. Any comments, Councilman Ring?
I gave my comments previously, and I think Dave's sister did a wonderful job of correlating the significance of this site as it relates to the Wimple property, so no.
Thank you. Any comment? Okay, I just simply want to say this is a win-win for everybody involved, and if we could go to a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Nordales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Kirk?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, 10B, the action that we will be taking now is to defer the action from tonight to April 20th. If I'm not mistaken, that requires a motion to defer, and we will then reset the public hearing for April 20th. Did I get that right? Do I need to say anything else, Ms. Doyle?
I move to table 10B.
No, we're not tabling.
I think the proper
we're deferring
motion
action.
would be to postpone action. A motion to postpone action procedurally.
Till April 20th, it's
Until April
Instead of,
20th.
when you postpone to a date certain.
Yeah. So I need a motion to postpone action on 10B until April 20th. That was a motion?
That was a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and if I could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Nordales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Okay, I don't see a reason why not, so sure.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President Kirk?
Yes, so our new date will be,
The new date for the final action and public hearing will be April 20th, 2023, here in the council chambers at 7:30 PM, and it will also be returned to the planning board for April 11th.
Before we move on, if I may just make a brief comment?
yes.
Okay. I guess this is really for the administration. We received some emails, telephone calls. We've heard some folks speak tonight. I know some folks have some concerns. As I've talked to some people, I think some of their concerns, we had someone suggesting that this is next to Kidd Street here tonight, which we know it's not. Someone suggested that the billboards were going to be like Las Vegas with light shows, which we know they're not. I had someone today on the phone who was complaining about nighttime, didn't realize that it will be turned off for 8 hours a day. I think to the degree that we could somehow share some additional information with the public on this between now and April 20th, so that people have accurate information instead of, some people have valid concerns and some people have concerns because they're getting inaccurate information. I just think to the degree we can share some additional information, I think it would be beneficial.
I think that's a very good suggestion. I know it's been heard and will be acted upon.
I like that. I like that.
Okay, moving to introduction of ordinances at 11A. This is an ordinance by the Township Council of the Township of Bridgewater, amending Township of Bridgewater Code of Ordinances to repeal Article, 39. Did I get that right? Specific floodplain requirements, sections 126-289 to 126-299, to adopt a new Article 39, specific floodplain requirements, sections 126-289.101 et sec, to adopt flood hazard maps, to designate a floodplain administrator, and providing for severability and an effective date. Can I have a motion, please?
Based upon the comments we've previously heard on this, that if we do not adopt this, our residents cannot get flood insurance, I will move to introduce 11A.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, I don't think discussion is needed because we have discussed it before, so if we go to roll call vote.
Councilman Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa? Yes. Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President Kirsch?
Yes, and the date for said hearing?
The date for final hearing and public action will be the 20th day of April 2023 at 7:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. Copies will be made available to the public upon request, and this will be presented to the planning board for their April 11th meeting.
Thank you. And 11B, an ordinance granting consent and permission to New Jersey American Water Company Incorporated to furnish wastewater collection and conveyance service in a portion of the Township of Bridgewater, New Jersey. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Pappas, do you want to give us just brief commentary on this if necessary?
Mr. Genova did provide a memo, but I'll summarize it. The council several months ago adopted an ordinance that allowed the pass-through of the sewer fees to those few instances where there are sewer users outside of Bridgewater Township that utilize our sewer utility system as a conveyance system. As you know, you should know, Borough of Somerville is in the process of transferring title of their sewer utility to New Jersey American Water. And, as I understand, this simply establishes the relationship between Bridgewater Township Sewer Utility and New Jersey American Water for purposes of conveyance for these limited number of property owners in Somerville.
Mr. President, I
Yes.
have three quick issues. One question would be, have all the customers been notified that they will be transferred to Somerville?
I don't know the answer to that.
The other one is, I want to make sure we have the right number. In the text of the ordinance, we have 40 people, but yet there's another document that says we have 43. Just for the next version of this, if we can confirm what is the exact number and make sure we get it right, please.
Mr. Corsini, would a change from 40 as proposed in the draft ordinance, that's inaccurate, would that prohibit the council from adopting it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real number. I think, yes, I tend to view that conservatively, Councilman Nogales and Administrator Pappas. Unless there's I typically limit it to punctuation, and that is not punctuation.
How about if it's worded up to 43 customers?
My view is punctuation is the only non-material
no?
ordinance. It is a no.
What if it was 43 and it was later found out it was only 40 and went down? Is that an issue?
Well, if that's the case, then
Yeah, I
then
mean, you
it
could
could then it
amend
could
it
stand.
later.
That's what- well, I'm
You could
saying-
do this and then amend it at the next meeting. To just
But I think the question is, if you amend it at the next meeting, can you still have a public hearing? Because this
Yeah,
is
you
an
could have-
ordinance.
You could have a public meeting on this ordinance. So you're saying is the amending ordinance is going to be like right on the tail of the proper ordinance? Is that what you're saying, Councilman Ring?
Yeah.
I have no issue with that.
That's not an issue.
All right, so-
Because the intention of the notice is, requirement is given at that time. I would be fine with what Councilman Ring suggested.
So we'll clarify whether it's 40 or 43.
That's fine.
All right, so we're gonna vote tonight, though, on how many?
What, based
We'll vote-
upon,
It says 40, so we will,
well, it's just because, do we want to make a motion to amend it now to 43?
No, I would
I
put
don't
this
think
one
we should.
through,
Okay.
and then I would chase it very quickly
Okay.
with an ordinance that amends this one section. I do not believe that,
So that would be having to amend it, which would go through this whole process again, so.
yeah, but the proper ordinance and almost all of its key provisions would become effective very quick, 2 weeks quicker, 3 weeks quicker. You do what you want, but I'm
Just
telling you
saying,
that,
Then it would be another draft of an ordinance.
And we'd have to
it would be a
renotice it.
Renotice.
yeah,
and
I
it's an
view,
additional cost,
yeah, I mean,
so-
I do.
So let me ask this, is there any danger in delaying the action on what is currently called 11B?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
What if we were to table this now to allow the administration to perhaps go make a phone call or two? And then we could reevaluate this later at this, it sounds like, Mr. Pratt, we need to, based upon the transaction going on between Somerville and the water company, get this done.
You can make a motion to amend your agenda and drop this item at the end of the agenda, yes,
So-
Councilman Ring. But it's got to amend the agenda, not table.
All right,
Well,
so I'll
okay.
take a motion to amend the agenda to come back to consideration of what is now known as 11B after we handle resolutions.
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, so we will come back to 11B if possible.
Does that work, Mr. Pappas?
What I would
Okay.
like to do is change the batting order slightly on our resolutions. We have a few,
Mr. President,
yes.
sorry. The chart on the back of 11B, the very last page, numbers from 1 to 43 for the number of things. So it is really 43 because there were the back chart.
We're going to come back to it.
We're going to come back to it.
Okay.
We're going to confirm that's the right number. So what I would like to do is bat slightly out of order, because we have a few members of the audience who are here for action at 12C. So if we could do consideration of 12C first, that's notification of applications for the 2023 Somerset County Community Development Block Grant by the following nonprofits with intended projects within Bridgewater Township, and that would be Home Sharing, Inc. and Youth Consultation Service, both of whom we heard from earlier. I'll take a motion to approve 12C.
I'll move it.
Okay, I have a motion and
Oh,
a
I was
second.
just, I think we want to just clarify, though, that we're moving this with a slight amendment. This packet includes,
Minus the
yeah, moving 12C minus the Pearl Street request that's in it.
Okay, so do I still have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call at 12C, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa? Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President Kirsch?
Yes. Took a few more minutes than I thought.
Do you,
All right, may we, I'm going to go back to 12A, which will be subject to a minor typo. We are authorizing award of contract for professional legal services. This would be the first alternate municipal public defender to Megan A. Odiella, Esquire, for term commencing March 20th, 2023, terminating December 31st, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $2,400. I do need the motion to include a minor typographical correction at the 7th whereas clause.
I'll make the motion, I think it's the 6th. It's the 6th whereas.
Sixth whereas
Sixth
clause.
whereas, just a gender issue, it says he and it should be she.
second.
And a roll call at 12A, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President Kirsch?
Yes. 12B, this is authorizing award of contract for professional legal services. This is the second alternate municipal public defender to Joseph J. Bell IV, Esquire, for a term commencing March 20th, 2023, terminating December 31st, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $2,400.
Moving 12B.
Is there a second? Do we have a second? I'll second. A roll call, please.
This is on 12.
B.
This is the award of contract for legal services.
Yes, Joseph J. Bell IV, Esquire. Roll call, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President Kirsch?
Yes. D, authorizing execution of a developer's agreement between the Township of Bridgewater and Champion Real Estate Management LLC regarding zoning board approvals for construction of a 5,364 square foot addition to an existing auto body repair shop on Block 170, lots 1 through 3, located at 208 Route 28. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll, oh, sorry.
For a second.
Did you move it, Howard? I didn't hear.
I'll move it or second it if you.
And I'll do
if you got
whichever
there
one,
first.
too.
All right, and a roll call at 12D, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso? Yes. Councilman Ring?
Yes.
And Council President Kirsch?
Yes. At E, authorizing change order number 1, final change order for the 2022-3 roadway improvement project. This is the entire length of Darby Place, Fox Run, Rolling Knolls Way, and Winding Brook Way, decreasing the contract price from $1,011,429.51 to $986,142.93. That's a decrease of 2.5% or $25,286.58. Authorizing acceptance of the project, release of the performance bond, acceptance of the maintenance bond, and final payment to Top Line Construction, located at 22 Fifth Street in Somerville, New Jersey, 08876, funded through the 2022 Capital Road Fund. A motion, please.
I'll move it.
I'll make a second. Just a brief comment, and if it's me, tell me, and I'll move on. But when I read these, sometimes you see, like, in the top, order for the 2022-3. I think sometimes you read this, and you think, wait, this is 2022-2023, as opposed to...
Section
The
3.
third
I
section.
understand,
Area 3, yeah.
but I don't know if the public gets thrown by that, too. I just share that comment, but I'll second it.
We could certainly begin
Section.
to
Yeah.
insert sections.
idea.
I think it's a
Just-
good idea.
It gets confusing sometimes.
Okay, I think the title speaks for itself, so if we go to a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso? Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President Kirsch?
Yes. F, project resolution for professional engineering services for Middlebrook Sanitary Sewer Pumping Station Phase 2 Improvement Project to Pannoni Associates, Inc. They are located at 24 Commerce Street, Suite 300 in Newark, New Jersey, 07102, in the amount of $162,700, funded through the 21-13 Sewer Bond Ordinance. Mr. Pappas, if you could provide us some context.
Yes, as you can see from the memo from Mr. Burr, there were 7 or 8 firms that had submitted proposals. They were each qualified, and this entity is one that we have worked with. I would like to point out, because one of the council members asked about how much work Pannoni Associates has carried out that's similar to this. And the response that I got was that they recently acquired another firm called Van Note Harvey, which has done extensive work in the area of wastewater systems, including for Bridgewater Township. And the gentleman who we've worked with for a number of years is actually going to be the project manager on this. So we have great confidence in their ability to carry out this task.
And that gave me comfort that we were talking to the right people.
Any other questions before we take a motion?
I think that was a motion.
Okay, that sounds like the motion. Is there a second?
Sure.
Okay, a roll call, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council President Kirsch?
Yes. 12G, authorizing change order number 1, final change order, decreasing the contract price from $312,500 to $310,056.82, a decrease of 0.78% or $2,443.18. Acceptance of the project and final payment to VNL Inc., located at 158 Old Turnpike Road, California, New Jersey, 07830, for improvements to the Middlebrook Pumping Station Phase 1, funded through the 2021 Capital Sewer Fund. I think the title speaks for itself.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Council
Yes. Now, at 12H, I'm going to request a motion to table
So moved.
so that we can consider this at our next meeting on March 30th.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and a second to table 12H. A roll call, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Sure. Did they ask for?
The applicant asked for the additional time.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
Council President Kirk?
Yes. And now, if we can, go back to 11B. Have we clarified the proper number is 43?
Mr. Norgalis is correct, it's 43.
Okay, so I think what I need is a motion to approve a slightly amended 11B with the number 43 impacted households.
So moved.
Second.
This is a final action ordinance, right?
No, it's an
Oh,
introduction.
no, it's.
Oh, okay,
it's-
all right, yes, I
it's-
misread it.
it's-
Then that's fine, yes.
Yes.
What number are we on?
We've gone back to 11B. We've clarified that it is 43 homes. So the ordinance will reflect that, and the publication that will occur will also reflect that. 43 homes. So I have a motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes, I think we have no choice, right? Otherwise, they have no water service.
Something like that.
Right.
Can't flush
No,
the
they wouldn't be able to flush the toilets.
Yes,
Plenty of water.
right.
Too much
Too much water.
Yes.
Council President Kirk?
Yes, and if we could set a date, please.
Yes, public hearing and final action on this ordinance will be March 30th, 2023, at 7:30 PM here in the council chambers, and copies will be available on the web.
Okay. And the reason why that one is going March 30th, but the other needs to go in April is because that one does not require any planning board action. Okay, Mr. Corsini, confirm for me that we do have a closed session?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Okay, so let me read that with that resolution. I guess if you could also confirm for me, Mr. Pappas, we will not be taking any formal action?
Correct.
Okay, so we are finished taking formal action for tonight, but we will go into closed session. Be it resolved by the Bridgewater Township Council that this body will now hold a closed meeting to discuss contract negotiations. When and if matters discussed become public record, this will be made known to the public at that time. The public is excluded from said meeting, and further notice thereof is dispensed with, all in accordance with Sections 8 and 4A of the Open Public Meetings Act. And again, after the closed session, we will regather only for the purpose of adjournment. So do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Second.
Yeah.
We have a motion,
Sure.
our motion from Mr. Ring, a second from Mr. Norgalis, and on the roll call there, Mr. Norgalis,
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso, Mr. Ring,
Yes.
and Mr. Kirsch, I'll vote yes. Okay.
Are we offline?
Yeah, make sure she knows we're not.
Suzanne?
Shouldn't be online.
Are we off?
Okay. So who did
Not-
the
We are not
introduction in a
offline.
second?
We're not offline
I
yet.
second.
You seconded?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's up?
Okay, we're not broadcasting? Okay. And here's the vote I conducted.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Pappas.
So, Mr. Corsini